Hey guys, welcome back to another live stream. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the chat really quick. So we see here domestic terror. Okay, so they're just talking amongst themselves. Thomas, Minnesota's probably flipping red. It's never too late. I mean, it's definitely possible. I think Trump will win, but we'll be on probation. Oh yeah. They always oversample Democrats by at least 3 points every single poll. It's actually worse than that. It's a lot worse than that. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about today because I'm going to be going over that. We're going to be going over the economy and what that could mean. And then we're also going to go over something else. We're actually going to go over my voting experience today because I went to go vote for the Miami-Dade County mayoral race. I went to go do that and a couple other things. So those are like the main topics we're going to talk about today. And I want to kind of relay an important message when it comes to the whole voting thing. But welcome back to the stream, guys. Today we're going to be going over the topics I just mentioned. So if you guys can hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new, that would be greatly appreciated. I know it's an earlier stream today, but as of right now, we kind of have like this new setup going on, and I even have sounds now, so I can go ahead and like play sounds. So I can like do this. So that's pretty cool. I have like a bunch of different sounds now that I can play. I'm gonna get to the super chat that came in here really quick. Domestic terror for 10 says, I find your model to be, I don't know how to pronounce that, but I guess like accurate. Nice work. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then we'll see Window Wiz 1234 says, yo, who's on the election night coverage ticket on Point Politics? I don't really understand what you mean by that. So Christian says Americanism, not globalism. Yes, that's definitely true. Even the conservative leading polls, bare minimum, it's D+3 polling error. Well, because now what they're doing is they're oversampling Democrat voters by like a lot. They're doing it to the point where it's like not even funny. They have like D+6, D+7 polls after you weigh them, and the electorate, like I mentioned yesterday, is not going to be that. The electorate's probably going to be R+1, R+2, similar to the Gallup identification thing that we looked at yesterday. So that's definitely not going to be the case, in my opinion. I don't think so. Charles for 2 says, can we please rip apart Morning Consult? I did notice that they actually did end up doing they ended up doing this new poll thing, which was kind of strange. They ended up doing this thing where they pretty much, I think they had like a Harris +4 poll or something like that. I have yet to look at the sample yet, but I would not imagine that it would be a great sample, to be honest. I think that it probably is a Democrat oversampling. We could actually go to 538 right now and even look and see how that looks, because let's see, Morning Consult, yeah, +3. Oh, and of course. So let's see how many. Okay, so Democrats, so Harris wins 91% of Democrats, and Trump is winning 89% of her. But yeah, that's not going to happen. There's no way that Trump is winning less Republicans than Harris is winning Democrats. That's how you know that they oversampled Democrats in the poll already. So Taylor Sweeson, will Trump go to jail or be on probation? Honestly, when it comes to that, I kind of don't know what's going to necessarily happen when it comes to that. We'll get more information regarding that scenario, but I really can't tell you a definitive answer for that. Everyone down southeastern, hunker down for this hurricane. Last of the water may be coming my way. Window Wiz, got anyone else on the stream with you this November yet? Not exactly sure. I'm pretty sure Gold Crown Politics is going to be on stream with me. I think he's going to be the main co-host for that day. And I think Red Eagle possibly could pop in. We'll see how that goes. Maybe he pops in, maybe he does not. Hey, On Point, happy Monday, and God bless you. Thank you very much. How are they oversampling Democrats? It's because now there's like way more enthusiasm for Democrats to be answering the polls. So the problem with the polls is they're oversampling Democrats to the point where there's like 40% Democrat, 25% Republican, and the rest are independent. But that's not an accurate sample size of the nation. And so when you do that, even when you weigh the poll, they don't weigh it properly. So they still have D+5, D+6, which didn't even happen in 2012. It didn't happen in 2008 either. The electorate was probably D+4. So, and then Obama won independence roughly, and he was kind of able to expand that. Jason Christie for 5 says, what else do you think? What do you think Trump's absolute ceiling is? Like Harris collapses, Trump gains massively, etc. Honestly, I think his absolute max ceiling, and that's if like everything goes right for him, like a best case scenario, is probably 361 electoral votes. And we're only 3 months away, guys. We are exactly, as of today, 3 months away from the election. We are not that far from having the general election. And I think to be honest, based on the modeling that I've done, based on everything that I'm looking at, more than likely the best case scenario for Trump, if everything were to go right and Harris were to just completely crash, is probably 361 Electoral College votes. Right now, Colorado, Illinois, New York, Oregon, they're kind of voting too far to the left of the nation, even right now. Like, a lot would have to happen in order for that to change. I'm noticing the chat is kind of like covering my face there. So I think what I might do is I might actually go ahead and kind of make this a little bit smaller, just so it's not like covering my face completely. And I may even put it up here. So I think I may try to put the chat. I think I'm going to put the chat like up here for now. Next stream, I'll kind of figure out a permanent place for. Actually, I could just put the chat like right here in the corner of the screen here. It may possibly work out there, so let's test that out and see how that looks, because maybe I can just put the chat, you know what, no, I'm gonna put it up here in the corner. I think that may be a better spot for the chat, so I'm gonna put that right about there. Okay, there we go. So this is the thing now. So the problem is that if Harris were to just completely tank and everything, this is probably what you would get. If Trump were to completely tank, probably, to be honest, now that Biden's out of the way, if Trump were to like completely tank, I actually think that Harris could probably end up winning the 2020 map. Because if Trump were to tank, he would probably just end up losing all those like suburban voters that have been kind of flocking to him like the whole cycle. So that's probably what would happen, to be honest. Like if he were to completely tank, she would probably just recreate Biden's map. It wouldn't really be anything like too crazy. Like these people that say North Carolina and Texas are even below, like are in play, are just completely crazy. Like Let's Talk Elections or Let's Cope Elections actually has it as like a lean margin. That literally is not gonna happen. She's not going to do that. Well, she's not going to improve on Hispanics from Biden, which he already did kind of poorly with them. And that's why Texas was still over a 5-point win. So those are kind of like the two best case scenarios for both candidates, to be honest, at this point in time. And sort of like a fair battleground map probably looks something like this. I'd even argue Georgia may possibly already be in Trump's column. This is probably a battleground map that you could probably use to look at the election right now. Nebraska second could be up. So this is probably what the battleground map is looking like. And in terms of states that are kind of like sort of, you know, already leaning a certain way, I think Virginia is kind of already leaning a certain way. I think Maine, New Hampshire are, and I think like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada are. So really like the true toss-ups are Nebraska, Michigan, Minnesota, and New Mexico. That's kind of like the four like really, really close states. Right now is New Mexico, Minnesota, Michigan, and Nebraska second. Those are the ones that I would deem definitely the most competitive. And to be honest, when it comes to this election right now, Donald Trump has a 44.3 percentage point approval rating. Harris is at 43.3% on 530 on, I believe it's RCP. So it's like it's not going to really work out at all. She's still down a point in favorability despite having the sugar high. What's happening right now is the pollsters are oversampling for Democrats to the point where the polls are basically useless because they're having 40% Democrat, 20% Republican, and then the rest are independent. But that's not even how that's never happened in the past like 20 years. Even going back, the electorate has never been that, you know, lopsided one way or another. So there's really no way to prove that that would be accurate. And even when they weigh it, you still get D+6, D+5 5, and the electorate in 2020 was D+1, and that's when Joe Biden was at his most popular, when he was like at 52% nationally. Now he's in the low 40s, and Harris is still in the low 40s, and even she was in like the low 50s too. So I think the electorate's probably going to be R+2, R+3, depending on the turnout that day. That's roughly what I'm looking at in terms of the electorate as of right now. So guys, make sure to go ahead, and if you are in here, there's about 136 of us in here, so make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to like the video if you are in here. I see there's about 47 likes, but if you guys could go ahead and hit the like button, I would greatly appreciate that. Funny enough, if we actually look, Morning Consult has Harris up in favorability at 40, basically 50%, which there's literally no way, and that in part has to do with a lot of the oversampling that we've seen. Did they just oh, I think I clicked on the wrong thing. Let me see. Oh, I guess they just updated this. Oh, I guess they just updated the average. She went down a bit. So she's at 43.1. What's Trump at now? I guess they just updated it right now, because I had pulled up the pages like right, but oh wow, Trump actually went up a tiny bit. So he's actually now up in the favorability metric by 1.3%. So he's starting to gain back the spread. That's the first time he's kind of expanded the spread. And that puts, not necessarily flips any states to him, but that puts Nebraska second within a point now, New Mexico almost within a point, and Minnesota. So that kind of you know, moved the needle like a tiny bit there. So that's pretty good that that happened. I wonder what the aggregate looks like now, because that must have been new polling data. Okay, so it's still basically the same, but clearly Harris went down a bit. She dropped like 0.3%, and Trump has gone up in favorability just a little bit. He's now going to be almost as popular as he was back in 2020, because he had a 45% approval rating that day. I'm pretty sure he had like in the high 45. So he's probably going to be as popular as he was in 2020, going against a candidate that is basically 10 points less popular than Biden was. And that's not really a good thing. That's like a pretty big shift in a different direction. So that may end up being a problem at some point in the future. That may end up becoming a huge issue. Red Politics 1776 says Tim Walz is the VP pick. Did they actually confirm that? There's no way he's actually going to be the pick. Let me see. Did they actually reveal it? I don't see anything on my Twitter feed right now, but if you have like actual confirmation for that, you can go ahead and Tim Walz may hinder our chances at winning Minnesota. Is it actually? No way it's actually Tim Walz. Are you serious? No way it's actually him. Oh, wow. A caravan of black SUVs just left Governor Tim Walz's residence here in Minnesota. It looks like he may be the pick to serve as the running mate for Kamala Harris. Oh, wow. That is really, wow. That is bad. Wow. That's bad. Guys, damn. That is not a good pick. She could have picked Josh Shapiro. I mean, arguably, that guy has a lot of skeletons in his closet too, but she could have at least picked him. Damn, she really picked Walz? Oh, that's not good. Guys, that guy is responsible for bailing out a bunch of people that protested at BLM riots that actually caused damage. That's why they were in jail, and he basically bailed them out with Kamala Harris herself. So that's going to be a thing that Trump should really attack him on. So if that's the case, and I mean, if there was a lot of vehicles and stuff like that coming out of his home, more than likely it's probably going to end up being Walz, because the same thing happened with Vance. Vance was kind of escorted a bit properly, and that's basically what ended up happening. Now, is it going to make Minnesota harder to win? I mean, we'll see what the polling data reflects, but I don't really think so, to be honest. I don't really think he's going to make Minnesota harder to win. If anything, he may actually make it easier depending on what happens. I mean, we'll see, but the guy is popular in a way, but not the most popular. And like electorally speaking, he is a pretty kind of pick. He didn't even outrun Biden by a lot. He literally outran Biden by like half a point. So it's not like he was the best pick in the world. I wonder when his last governor race was. Was it 2022? Yeah, he won by 7.7%. where Democrats like in Michigan and Pennsylvania did far better. So even out of all these Democrat candidates who ended up winning, he actually didn't even perform as well as he should have, to be honest. He should have won this race by like 12, 13 points, probably even more than that based on how everybody was doing here. So he's really not even that popular. He's only gotten like 1.3 million votes in 2018. He actually got less votes this time, believe it or not. He went down like 800,000 votes. And the Republican actually turned out more voters. So that's very interesting as well. 2014, at that point, he wasn't even running. And I guess Jeff Johnson, for some reason, he was kind of the candidate for 2 cycles. And he lost the first time kind of badly. And then the second time, he lost pretty badly again. But that's because Walz probably did a lot better in Hennepin County compared to other nominees. And then Tim Walz just won re-election. So that's probably why he's not running again that's probably why he's going to accept the VP slot. So let's see. Buckeye Politics says, we're back, Patriots. Buckeye Politics says, hi, on point. Flammy Bird Drake says, I feel much, much better and more confident with Tim Walz than Shapiro. JD Vance was a questionable pick. I mean, not really. And actually, Vance against Walz, forget it. That's going to be like... Walz is basically like Tim Kaine 2.0. Except he probably is going to be even more annoying, to be honest, because he was glazing the hell out of Harris the other day. Like, it wasn't even funny. He was like, oh, yeah, she's the best. She did this. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, really? So I don't really think that's going to make that much of a difference. What do you think of Aiden's stream and maybe more streams for Gen Z? I thought the stream was really good. I actually watched the whole thing. I think Aiden's stream was actually pretty solid with Trump. He asked Trump the right questions, had Trump explain the right things, and he kind of made it relatable to where younger viewers were able to tune in. And actually, they ended up getting like a little bit over like 600,000 people to watch at one point during the stream. So they really maxed out the opportunity there. I think it's actually the most viewed like stream in history. I'm pretty sure it's like the most viewed stream. I'm pretty sure. So that was definitely pretty crazy that they were able to pull that off. And we see here tomorrow's the August 6th primaries from Red Lion. I'm asking all of my fellow Michigan followers to get out and vote. For those that live in Michigan's 109th district up here in the Upper Peninsula, please get out and vote for Carl. Okay. And we see here, and then now also too, the economy. I mean, the markets crashed in the morning. Here we see Microsoft is down about almost 5%. Meta's down 6%. Google's down 4%. Apple's down 7%. Nvidia is down 12%. And we see like literally every single company is basically shaded in red except for like a few. Netflix is down, Meta's down, Adobe's down. Like, there's a lot of things, and not even just here, but even like stocks are down. Tesla's down almost 10 points. That is not great either. This is not really a good look. And really, the only things that are actually up, funny enough, McDonald's went up very, very narrowly, which is kind of funny. But the only things that have been going up, or the stocks or whatever, have been like military, complex industrial type of stocks. And, that is a really bad sign for what possibly could be to come if a potential, certain war could break out. That may be a huge problem coming in the future. Hopefully that doesn't start, but definitely that is a big warning sign that could be the case. And we clearly see here, I mean, in terms of the Electoral College, I mean, we're 3 months out. And Trump, all he's got to do is win Pennsylvania with the states he won last time in Georgia. That's it. That's all he's got to do. And that's where they're actually spending the most money. Now, the problem with Harris is that Harris kind of has a little bit of an enthusiasm boost in Georgia for whatever reason, probably because of the Atlanta area with Hispanics, or with older black voters. But really, other than that, I mean, Trump will probably still hold on to it, but she does add a point herself to her compared to what Biden probably would have done. But really, Trump, all he's got to do is win Pennsylvania and Georgia. And when we kind of go over the election on election night, it's actually going to be fairly easy, because if we look at the exit polls and we look at different things and we see that it's very obvious that the nation at large shifted a point Republican, literally all of his 2020 electoral votes, we're going to call them exit polling, because a lot of these states have either been trending to the right pretty rapidly, or they're stagnant, or Texas has basically trended only a point to the left, and Alaska has only trended a few points to the left. So if the nationwide popular vote even shifts 1 point to the right, we're going to call Iowa, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, and Texas all at poll closing. So if it's apparent that the nation moved one to the right, he would already have 235 electoral votes. And based on the results in Georgia and Pennsylvania, which count pretty early because they start on the East Coast, if the results, like if he's at 80% in Georgia counting and he's still ahead by 15 or 10 points, well, we would probably call it for him at that point. And we're going to try to get an operation going to try to see, how we may be able to get reporting and, how things are all on the ground. I don't know exactly how we're going to figure that out. I'm going to definitely plan around that. But if we call Georgia, at that point, he would be at 251, and the Rust Belt starts counting before these states in the left, basically the left coast. And then as the night goes on, I mean, states like Colorado, depending on how the data looks out of there, we may call it at poll closings. Depending on how the data's from there, more than likely we'll call it. We're probably going to call Illinois and New York at poll closings as well, just because those states are still too far to the left. And I mean, it depends on how the exit polls look, because of the exit polls, if he's really shifting the nationwide popular vote by like 8 to 10 points, like I had been saying before, if that's really the case, we literally can't even call Colorado, Illinois, or New York at poll closings. Like, by the time, if he's really shifting the nationwide popular vote that much, this is probably what the toss-up map would look like. Like, this is probably what it would look like the night of on our end. And at that point, they probably would have already called Maine and New Hampshire for Trump if he really would have shifted the nationwide popular vote by 10. So at that point, the map would probably look something like this, to be honest, on election night. Now, if he only shifts the popular vote like 4 to 6 points, we're calling all these deep blue states for him. Even Virginia, more than likely, we would call that poll closings, and probably even New Hampshire and Maine, we'd even call those. So this is probably even New Mexico too. So if he shifts the popular vote even 5 to 6 points, this is probably what the map would look like by the end, and then Pennsylvania would get him over. Now, the problem is, we won't really even be able to project him the winner probably until 1 a.m. because Alaska would be the state that's, they don't start counting until 1. Now, we do kind of have this thing where me, Gold Crown Politics, and a bunch of people that talk basically have this kind of fundamental theorem where it's like the Rust Belt trio. I mean, all of these have basically voted together since the 1990s, and so if they have basically all voted together for the past few decades, we would assume that if Pennsylvania goes red, more than likely Michigan and Wisconsin go red. And obviously we would look at the vote totals in all 3 states before really calling any one of them. But if we were to call one Rust Belt state, we'd probably call all of the Rust Belt states together at that point. And so that's how we would probably project Donald Trump the winner before they even would start probably counting in Alaska or Hawaii for that matter, because they start counting them at 1 a.m. So this is probably what the victory map would look like for him by the time we start counting, if he only shifts the nationwide popular vote by a couple points. If that's not the case, then New Mexico, New Hampshire, these would probably still be up. And at that point, they probably would have even called Virginia because they start counting early. And if he's winning it by 2 to 3 points, they should be calling it by 11 or 12 p.m. Eastern time, give or take, because they start counting first at 6 or 7. So that's basically where that would be. So this is probably, if he's really winning the popular vote by that much, this is probably what the map would look like at 11 or 12 p.m. if he's really winning the popular vote by 8 to 10. But obviously, we're going to be waiting and seeing how the election actually looks like the day of. Clearly we're going to be looking at that 100%. And one of the things I also want to talk about as well is the fact that I went to go vote today. I live in Miami-Dade. I've probably spoken about that before. And I went to go vote today. And when I got there at the polling station, and guys, I really need you to understand this. I need, if you guys have any older family members that want to go vote, you guys really need to be careful, because today I had a poll worker basically tell me, oh, you can't vote, your license is expired. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's going to expire in 2027. They're like, no, it actually says right here that it's expired in 2021. And I was like, that's not true. Like I got my license that year. And then they were all like, "Oh, we're looking at the license," and then they had to basically admit, "Oh yeah, your license expires in 2027." But for like 2 to 3 minutes, they were like pressing me on my license. And what happens is when you go, they scan your license on a barcode, and it pops up all your information on like a little screen. And what probably they see is they probably see on their end, they probably see what party you are. And it was not only until after she screened my thing for the first time is when she told me, "Hey, your license is expired." She probably saw my party affiliation. So guys, when you go vote, especially if you have older parents or like older grandparents, or anybody that in general can't necessarily function by themselves, guys, be careful, because these people literally were gonna like tell me, "Oh, your license is expired," and "Oh, goodbye," if I hadn't challenged them. And if there's an older person that maybe doesn't know, necessarily, or like they kind of have like, they're not remembering things as well, they might just turn around and not vote. And that's what they basically tried doing to me today. And so that is just not okay. And so now I ended up voting for Manny CID. He is currently the mayor of my hometown, Miami Lakes. He's done a really good job. He's lowered the taxes for everybody in the town of Miami Lakes. He's basically boosted the infrastructure pretty well here. And he's kind of been attacking issues like blasting and things like that, which is an issue where, underground they have these explosives to try to get materials to build houses. But then what happens is if you kind of do it too much, or you do it in the wrong places, you basically end up destroying the houses that you made. You like mess up the person's backyard, or even sometimes it messes up people's homes, which is very unfortunate. And so that is very, very, that's not good. But Manny CID has done a pretty good job in Miami Lakes. And for all of you guys that are from Miami-Dade, if you go vote, which early voting already started for the Republican primaries, it's just that the mayoral race is considered a primary. It's like a jungle primary, basically. That's how they do it. And it's an unaffiliated race. So like when you go vote, you won't see the party next to their names. You'll just see like the name of the candidate. So if there's any of you guys that are in Miami Lakes, or anybody that's like in Miami-Dade County, make sure to vote for Manny CID, because he's done a really great job in the town of Miami Lakes as the mayor there. And I think he would be an outstanding mayor for the entire county of Miami-Dade as well. So guys, if you are going to go vote, make sure to go ahead and vote for Manny CID as of right now. Let me look at the chat here, because I did see that we had some super chats as well. Let's see. He's honestly not important enough to nickname. Trump could probably win suburban women if Roe v. Wade wasn't overturned and Biden was still the nominee. Well, no, because Biden only won them by 4. And a lot of them care about the economy a lot. You tell me a lot about crosstabs. The one poll had Harris up 4, but it was D+3. Yeah, you see the electorate's D+3. That's a more realistic result, but it's probably not going to even be going Democrats. Christian, I registered to vote today. So they were gaslighting you. Buckeye politics, election interference. Like I said, Trump is up about 5 nationally. I think Scott Presler is doing a great job in Pittsburgh. I hope they turn out. And we'll look at the super chats. RC for 2 says, "You are doing a great job. Thank you very much." Exactly for 2 says, "This is voter suppression." Omar Sally, that sucks. Do you have a voting card? You know what's interesting? You're supposed to get one. And I never got a voting card at all. I've never gotten one. And they didn't even ask me for it. They just asked me for my ID, which is also kind of weird too. Let me see. Report that to Florida Secretary of State. Well, probably you meant Secretary of State, because I don't think Secretary of State. I mean, it may be a thing, but John Federland says, "I grew up in South Miami." Omar Sally says, "I'm glad you're involved in local politics." Secede NC says, "I'm glad New York went to voter ID." Buckeye Politics, Manny CID 2028. When you see a Trump poll at 42% or 43%, automatically add 5 points. The calamity continues. Oh, that's a good one. Tom Flory says, when you see a Harris poll, automatically deduct 5 points. Never-ending error Kamala crash is crazy. Yeah, people were posting that today. That was pretty funny, to be honest. But as of right now, guys, really, we are 3 months away. And the Electoral College map, it's a straightforward path for him. It's really not that hard. He literally just needs the 2 states of Georgia and Pennsylvania, and that's literally all he needs for the Electoral College. That's literally all he needs for this. He just needs those 2 states. Now, when he wins, or if he does win on November 5th, we can't be 100% certain about his victory. And the reason why I'm saying that is because she kind of Harris is the vice president right now, which means she'd be the one approving the results. And if Trump wins, I can already imagine, oh, Russia, all this stuff. So just because he wins the Electoral College on election night doesn't mean he's really guaranteed to be the president. That's what I want people to understand. There may be some sort of issue where Harris is like, oh no, he stole it, and I'm approving the election results, so I'm not going to approve it. Like, there is a good chance that could actually happen. Or if they try to pull a fast one and try to deem certain electors as fake or something like that could actually happen. And so that is a problem that a lot of people aren't talking about, and it could really become a pretty big issue in the future. 100%, it could definitely become a problem. Mandorian, I either forgot or didn't know that today was in the state of Florida in the local primaries in Florida. Well, the early voting is like, the actual election is like on August 24th or the 26th. Early voting goes on for like 2 weeks, so there's plenty of time. And I think early voting in Florida, I wonder when that starts. I think I've read it starts on August 10th actually. I'm not sure. Let me see. Early voting Florida. Let's see. 2024 presidential election. Let's see when that actually happens. So we have general election, registered to vote October 7th. So early voting actually starts on October 26th, basically, and you can mail in your ballots. Deadline to register October 7th to 2024. No deadline to change a party affiliation. Deadline to request ballot to be mailed October 24th. And then election day is November 5th. Well, the interesting thing about that is I thought it was a lot earlier for some reason. Oh, well, here it says early voting period, mandatory period, August 10th to the 7th. Oh, that's weird, though. Huh. That's strange. I thought the election was supposed to be on like August 24th or the 26th. That is strange. Here it says it's the 20th, so maybe his election is on the 20th. Deadline to change, register to vote or change party affiliation. Deadline to send vote by mail-in ballots. I'm not voting by mail at all. I mean, I'm not going to disencourage anybody from voting by mail, but I definitely think that personally, me, I'm not going to vote by mail for my first time. I'm going to probably show up in person earlier. I probably might go back for that weekend, or maybe even just drive down for a day literally just to go vote and then come back up. So that is something I might possibly do. And so, guys, I mean, right now, the economy, the markets are basically going down. You know, right now, currently, we're at a point where things are looking basically the same. You know, nothing has really changed that much in terms of the Electoral College. And tomorrow, we'll be seeing who the VP pick is and stuff like that. So that's definitely going to be interesting. And so, guys, if you guys did enjoy this, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this.